You hear it before you see it, the slow toll of the bells, heavy and mournful, rolling over the rooftops of Rome. The year is 1497, and the Vatican is alive with whispers. Incense thickens the air, clinging to your skin as you walk through narrow marble halls lit by flickering candlelight. At the far end, she waits. Her gown, the color of molten gold, catches the light like a flame. Her eyes cool, unreadable meet yours, and you feel the weight of something unspeakable. Lucrezia Borgia, the Pope's daughter, the jewel of a family feared across Italy. Some call her an angel, others the devil's bride. They say her hands have poured poison, her beauty has sparked wars, and her bed has been shared with blood relatives. Here, in the heart of Christendom, you realize one truth. Salvation is not the only thing traded within these walls. But to understand how the Pope's own daughter became the most whispered name in Italy, we must step deeper into the Borgia court, where every smile hides a bargain, and every banquet may be a trap. Before we begin, if you crave hidden history, like this video, subscribe, and tell me where in the world you're watching from. The year is 1492. Christopher Columbus has just sailed west under the Spanish crown, but here in Rome, another conquest is underway. Rodrigo Borgia, a Spaniard from Valencia, has secured the papal throne as Alexander VI. In theory, he is the spiritual leader of Christendom. In practice, he is a king among kings, controlling armies, treasuries, and the fate of nations. The Vatican of this era is not the solemn sanctuary we imagine. It is a court of intrigue, where cardinals dine on silver and silk, and foreign ambassadors slip bribes into velvet sleeves. The Pope's blessing can crown an emperor or destroy him. Alliances are made and broken not in chapels, but in candle-lit chambers, thick with political plotting. In this world, the Borgia family stands apart. They are outsiders in an Italian-dominated curia, their Spanish roots marking them as ambitious interlopers. Alexander VI does not hide his children. Instead, he parades them as proof of his dynasty's strength. Cesare Borgia, the ruthless son, is groomed for military and political dominance, and Lucrezia, young and beautiful, is destined to be the family's most valuable instrument, her hand in marriage a weapon sharper than any blade. The city beyond Vatican walls seethes with envy and suspicion, each noble house watching the Borgias with equal parts fear and hatred. For in Rome, nothing is holier than power, and nothing more dangerous than those who hold it. Lucrezia's story begins not in romance, but in strategy. At just 13 years old, she is betrothed to Giovanni Sforza, Lord of Pesaro, sealing an alliance between the Borgias and one of the most powerful families in northern Italy. The wedding is a spectacle, velvet banners, trumpets, banquets that spill into the streets of Rome. But to the Borgias, it is not a celebration. It is a contract. For a time, the match serves its purpose. Yet in 1497, when the political tides shift, the alliance becomes a liability. Giovanni Sforza is summoned to annul the marriage on the grounds of impotentia, impotence. The accusation is both humiliating and politically lethal. Behind closed doors, rumors swirl that the Pope himself engineered the claim to free Lucrezia for a more advantageous union. Giovanni in turn spreads his own venom, that Lucrezia is engaged in incest with her father and brother. By 1498, Lucrezia is remarried, this time to Alfonso of Aragon, Duke of Bisceglie, and illegitimate son of the King of Naples. This match ties the Borgias to Neapolitan power, a crucial counterbalance in the shifting alliances of the Italian wars. But Cesare Borgia's ambitions do not align with Naples for long. In the summer of 1500, Alfonso is attacked on the steps of St. Peter's Basilica. Though he survives the assault, he is later strangled in his bed. Many believe Cesare ordered the killing, But the shadow of suspicion also falls on Lucrezia, her beauty now inseparable from the stench of death. Not long after Alfonso's murder, Lucrezia is once again a bride. Her third and final marriage is to Alfonso d'Este, heir to the Duchy of Ferrara. At first, the Este family resists, fearing the Borgia reputation will poison their court. But the Pope's influence and the political advantages prevail. In Ferrara, Lucrezia undergoes a transformation. Far from Rome's suffocating whispers, she flourishes as Duchess, presiding over one of the Renaissance's most vibrant courts. She sponsors poets, musicians, and painters, turning Ferrara into a cultural beacon. Yet even in Ferrara, the shadows follow her. Chroniclers note the sudden deaths of certain courtiers, the discreet burials, the quiet replacements. The legend of the Borgia poison cantarella, a colorless, tasteless toxin, grows. Some claim it is kept in a ring she wears, others that it seeps into the wine at her banquets. There is no proof, but in Renaissance Italy, absence of evidence is merely an invitation for a better story. Through it all, Lucrezia plays her part with precision. Letters reveal a woman fluent in diplomacy, adept at balancing rival factions, and fiercely protective of her children. Yet the rumors never die. The image of the blonde duchess with the serpent's smile is too captivating for history to resist. In the end, her life is a paradox, hailed as a patroness of the arts, damned as a murderess, remembered as both victim and villain. And perhaps that is the truest measure of her power. Centuries later, we still cannot decide which mask was hers and which belonged to the world that made her. To understand Lucrezia Borgia is to understand the nature of Renaissance politics and the way history chooses its villains. Much of what we know about her comes from the pens of enemies, Venetian envoys, rival Italian families, and later Protestant chroniclers eager to paint the Catholic Church as corrupt beyond salvation. For them, Lucrezia was the perfect symbol, a beautiful mask covering rot and sin. But when modern historians dig beneath the gossip, another picture emerges. Surviving letters show a woman deeply engaged with governance, particularly in Ferrara, where she acted as regent in her husband's absence. She managed estates, mediated disputes, and even negotiated with foreign powers. Far from the scheming seductress of legend, these records suggest a capable ruler shaped by the ruthless politics around her. The infamous cantarella poison is a case in point. While the Borgias were certainly accused of using it, no contemporary evidence links Lucrezia to any proven murder. In fact, the very stories that condemn her often mirror the fates of other noble women of the era, whose names history has largely forgotten. The difference? None of them were the Pope's daughter. Her supposed incestuous relationships with her father and brother also rest on shaky ground. Rumors first spread by a humiliated ex-husband and repeated by enemies who understood that sexual scandal was the quickest way to destroy a woman's reputation. In an age when noble daughters were pawns in political marriages, Lucrezia's repeated re-betrothals made her an easy target. In the end, the truth may be less sensational than the legend, but no less revealing. Lucrezia Borgia's life is a reminder that history's most enduring stories are often those written by its most determined liars. The summer of 1500 marked the turning point. Alfonso of Aragon's assassination was not simply a personal tragedy, it was a public spectacle, the culmination of years of whispers that now seemed, to the outside world, confirmed. Rome buzzed with lurid tales, that Lucrezia lured her husband into a false sense of safety, that she poured wine into his cup with a smile, knowing he would not live to see another dawn. In truth, no witness saw her hand in his death, but the political winds made the truth irrelevant. Alfonso's body was barely cold before the streets rang with the name Borgia like a curse. To the enemies of her family, the story was perfect. A beautiful widow, the Pope's daughter, draped in mourning black, while her brother consolidated their power. Her move to Ferrara could have been her escape, yet the shadows followed her there. Even as she transformed the duchy into a center of art and learning, her past clung to her like perfume. At court, allies admired her grace, enemies kept their distance, wary of the fate that befell those who crossed her. By the time of her death in 1519, childbirth having claimed her life at just 39, Lucrezia's legend was fixed. Painters, playwrights, and pamphleteers would recast her endlessly: saint, seductress, poisoner, pawn. Each version served a purpose: for someone political warning, moral lesson, or titillating scandal. And so she remains, not as she truly was, but as history wanted her to be, the eternal enigma of the Vatican's most infamous daughter. A woman whose smile could bless or destroy, and whose story, 5 centuries later, still refuses to die. Lucrezia Borgia's life is a mirror held up to the Renaissance, beautiful on the surface, dangerous beneath. Whether she was a victim of her family's ambitions or an architect of her own fate, her story forces us to question how history decides who will be remembered as a monster and who as a martyr. What we know for certain is this: in the Vatican of the late 15th century, salvation was negotiable. Power was the true religion, and the Pope's daughter played the game better than most. But the Borgias were not the only ones to weave such webs. In our next journey, we step into the chambers of a cardinal who built his own private army and whose rise would shake the very foundations of the Church. Stay with me. The past still has secrets to tell.